So why AMD? Now, if you look at the chart, you have two reasons why. Number one, AMD got sold off. So yesterday there was this pre-announcement from the AMD that they're not meeting their Q3 revenue guidance, which was $6.3 billion, but they're going to be guiding down to $5.3 billion instead. So around more than a $1 billion of revenue miss. So that actually freaked the market out, and they started selling it off. From $68, the AMD stock went down after market yesterday to 65-ish. And this morning, after the job report came in, which is, the job unemployment rate is 3.5% versus 3.8% expected. So that really spooked the market up even more. And so as a result of that, AMD even got further sold off along with the other NASDAQ stocks and the rest of the S&P. And the AMD currently is trading around $58 and change. Question is, why now? Why is it good buy now versus any other time? So here I have the chart. So this is from the Trading View platform. So I have drawn the Fibonacci series as well as a couple of trend lines to make a case that why AMD is a good buy now versus any other time. So if you look at the AMD's, the chart, how it traveled in the last couple of years, so the bottom being the COVID bottom, which was around $32, to all the way up to the November 2021 high, around $161. If you draw this Fibonacci between these two points, you see that the 50% retracement was about $100, 38% was about $85. In both of this this support and resistance points, AMD spent a lot of time. You can see that around this area, which is the 99.93 Fibonacci or $100 of the Fibonacci support resistance, it has 1, 2, 3, around. I can consider this one as well, 4 and 5. So 5 points at around $100. If you consider the 38.2, which is also a very significant Fibonacci retracement point, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's consider only 1 point out of this 2, so 7. You might consider this one as well. So 7 or 8 pivot points here for 38% of the Fibonacci retracement. Now the next one is 23.6%. Here we have. Will you consider this? I would not. These are not the the $66, 23.6% Fibonacci retracement. Rather only 1 point. Highly, you can say probably 1 here, where you have a confirmed pivot around this 23.6% Fibonacci point. So here I'm guessing that in the next few weeks or months, we are going to see that the AMD is going to spend a lot of time at this $66. Today AMD is 58, and RSI is around 30. So there's a high chance that AMD will bounce back from 58 and to this 60 level, maybe around 70 level, before it goes and test this upper channel again. If you look at the slope, let me go to the next slide, and I'll explain this channel and the slope a little bit more here. So in the last 1 year, since December 2021 to now, since this bear market has started, AMD has 1, 2, you can consider this one as well, 3 times it touched or close to touch this upper channel, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the 5th time today it touched this lower channel. This lower channel and the upper channel is like defining the AMD's high and low for a given period of time. And if you look at the slope, where there's within the 15-minute chart, this one and this one, that one in June to July, when it actually went down after the market low in June, and also in August, or from the August 15 to September, during the slide, the slope is similar. So the timeline when it went all the way from this upper level to the down for the channel, around the same time frame within a month. So I'm thinking that just like it did bounce the last couple of times, it's going to bounce back from this 58.08 where it exactly touched today. It might actually just, as some of the chartists say, that from the the support is not concrete, but it's more of a mattress where the stock will bounce and go down below the support and then will bounce back. So I'm thinking that it might happen in the next couple of days if the market sells off, but 58 is a pretty good time to buy. Now the question is why? This takes us to the fundamental, because this is a long-term view apart from the trading. So here the technical and the fundamental sort of coincide. I would not say that this is the bottom of the AMD, but this is a pretty good time to buy AMD if you consider that the market really sold off pretty well, and AMD is right around the level where the AMD's fundamental intersects well with this technical. So AMD, if you look at the revenue stream, around 26 billion estimated this year, 29 next year, around 10% increase, and 77 billion in the next 6 years, going to around 200% increase in the revenue. So compared to that, compare that to Intel and Nvidia. The Nvidia has a high growth of the revenue, actually much higher, but because it's a cloud play completely, versus AMD, which is both of a computational and the graphics for the consumer industry as well as the enterprise, the cloud play for the enterprise. With the 56-43% split in the revenue this year, which is going to go more towards the enterprise and sort of like plateauing down for the consumer side in the next few years. So I think that with this, it sits right between the Intel and the Nvidia in terms of its market share, both from the computational space as well as computational consumer space as well as the enterprise space. AMD is a better player for power. It's more power optimized for its those accelerators that's used mostly in the cloud, but also for the PC side, they're uniquely positioned for the car industry. Not so much Nvidia, but it's a balanced play when Volkswagen or the car makers, the BMWs and others, are looking for the computational space. The AP, the application processor side, compared to Intel, AMD has a pretty good market share, at least in the last couple of years, and that's why it grew better than the Intel, although it did not capture the much of this Intel share in the PC business. It did capture some of it, but it's not the major player yet. But in the car space, it definitely did quite a bit, and specifically on the gaming side, where Intel does not have a good reputation, so it's competing. Then AMD is competing with the Nvidia, and so it's kind of a good blend of what Nvidia and Intel provides. There are only 3 players in this industry today. There are custom SoC chip makers, like the Apples and the Googles, but they're all in their own space in the very small volume. The rest of the players have to rely on either AMD or the Intel or the Nvidia. So as the pie grows, especially for the enterprise, the cloud industry, that it's going to be more than $1 trillion business. Right now it's around 15%. The pie is only filled to 15%. The 85% still to grow. AMD is going to take a good chunk of that pie, and that's the story here. Why it is a cheap stock. That the growth stock is still below the $20 of the 20 multiple it's trading at this point. The next year's earning estimate is about highest range is around $6 earning, and the lowest is around $3.6. So depending on what multiple you want to put, if you think that you should put the S&P multiple on AMD, which I'll be really surprised if that happens. If it might happen for a day or for a minute, as soon as it happens, people are going to start buying, and the multiple is pretty soon will go back to 17, 18. Think about what happened to Netflix. Netflix was trading around 160, 165. I think 170 was like 1 or 2 days, and then it went up to 180, and very soon above 200 within a week, and within a month it was trading around 230, 240 level. Right now it is consolidating around that range on 220 to 240. So same thing might happen to AMD. AMD is a pretty good growth story, and it's still making its footmark in many places, and this PE, the multiple of the stock was about 30 just a couple of months ago, and we went down to, if you believe the earning growth will recess in the next few quarters. And if you look at the EBITDA estimates in the 2022 is 3.91, and it's going to go to $3.91 billion to $20 billion, so almost 400% in the next 6 years, and 50% in the next 1 year to $5.87 billion. So this is again, split between the enterprise and the competition and the graphics in 50-50, especially as we go in the next few years in the decade. But if you look at the next year's estimate on the street, so you are looking at around $3.4. So if you put a multiple of about 15, you're looking at the $50 stock, which is a worst case scenario. So you got $8 of like a downside from here. And if you look at the average, which is around $5 a stock, and if you put a reasonable multiple of $17 on the 17 multiples on it, which is a street multiple, but most likely it's going to be as soon as the market you have a clarity how the market is going to go, how with the Fed's interest rate, market is probably going to be looking at 17-18 multiple, and AMD at 20 with a $5, $4 to $5 is estimated. It goes back to $100 within few months, if not next quarter. So there's a huge return, and it's not going to be coming back once you have the market clarity. I agree that until you have the clarity, it's going to hover around. The volatility will be there between 50 and the Fibonacci series. 50% retracement, which is around $85. So, or 38% of the $85 and 50% on $100. So between 100, I think around 70 to 100 is going to hover over in the next few quarters. But as soon as we have the clarity, it's going to go up to 120 and probably 150 very soon, given the growth rate that the industry agrees that under Lisa Su's leadership, who's a phenomenal CEO, probably one of the best CEO in the industry right now, it's going to materialize. So given all that, we have the high of 90, low of 65, and average $80 of street estimate in the next few quarters, actually end of the year for AMD, and the next year estimates are going to come in as the new earnings come in for AMD in the next few, and everybody will be looking up for the guidance. As the enterprise has not softened, but the PC industry has softened, and that's why the $1 billion of revenue, miss by AMD in the Q3, and it's going to continue for the Q4, and it's going to continue in the Q1 next year as well. So I'm anticipating that in 2023, the $5.787 billion of the EBITDA is probably going to go down to 20%. Like if you consider that the, this softening of the PC demand coming from this from the $1 billion of the revenue miss, that's entirely on the PC. Out of the $5 billion, so around 20% of the revenue miss translates to around 20% of your earning miss. Well, 50% of their earning is based on the computational graphics. So 20% of the 50%. So about you can consider that 10% of revenue miss. So in that case, you'd probably consider that the earning is going to come around close to $4.5 billion maybe next year. So that would be around a $1 billion miss, $1.3 billion miss. So that will reduce the next year's guidance to, if you consider that that's about, again, like around a 20% miss. So next year guidance around average $5 is going to come down to 20% less, $4. You put a multiple of about $17 to 18, 17 to 18. Which is a strict multiple for generally for AMD, given their revenue growth. I cannot imagine that it's going to is going to be trading around 15 multiple, given the growth rate in the next few years in the cloud computing. So 17 to 18 or 20 to $4, it's around $68 to $80. That's going to be your baseline for AMD after the next earning comes up. But as we get more visibility, it is probably going to 140 and 150, as I said earlier. So that's why I'm recommending this. I'm buying this stock. I sold some puts. I got assigned some of this, some of the AMD stocks today. So around 66, I bought more at $60. I'll probably be losing a bit of money in the next few weeks until there's a visibility after the CPI report, as well as with the Apple and the Nvidia and the AMD, as well as other earnings that comes up in the next few weeks. But I'm guessing that after the next Fed meeting in November, when most likely they're going to increase the interest rate by 50 basis point, then the market will absorb that, and market will assess the narratives that the Fed provides, and they're probably going to go and hike another time with the terminal interest rate of 4.5 at the end of the year, and then in December, once the market gets the clarity that in the December 14th Fed meeting we're not going to get further hike for the next few quarters, in the year end during December the market is supposed to rally unless something else breaks between now and then. And at that time, between now and then, the AMD is going to be difficult to hold. But I think a lot of things can happen. If the market goes down to 3,400 in the next couple of weeks, people are going to start buying, and one of the things they'll buy is AMD. So you might not get the opportunity to buy AMD at 58, but if everything stays put, then most likely we are going to see AMD stock close to 100 by year end. It might sell off again next year, for early next year, and go to 80, but I would not expect to see this opportunity to buy AMD at 55 for a very long time.